Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today's video I'm going to be doing another book review, and today I'm going to be reviewing 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher. And this is actually a contemporary book, which if you've been on my channel before, you know that I don't read much contemporary books. But I realized something after reading this book. I realized you can sort of split contemporary books into sort of two subcategories. So one where it's like the cute, girly romance contemporary books that are sort of like chick flicks but in book form. And then there are the more serious contemporary books that deal with serious issues and topics. So the cute girly ones I don't do so well with. I get bored and no, I just don't like them. But I do really like the ones that are more serious and delve into more serious topics. And so 13 Reasons Why is one of those contemporary books. And it deals with the issue of suicide. And this story, if you haven't read it or if you don't know, it's about a girl named Hannah who commits suicide, but before she does so, she leaves behind these cassette tapes, explaining the reasons why, what led up to her death. And she leaves these tapes for certain people at her school. And if you get these tapes, it basically, on the very first tape, in the beginning, she explains, if you're listening to these tapes, you're one of the reasons that contributed to her death. And so that's basically what this book is about. It's told from sort of dual perspectives. So you have Hannah telling her story through the tapes, but then you have Clay, who is listening to the tapes. You have his perspective and his reactions to listening to her. And Clay, in the beginning, you know, when he gets the tapes and starts listening to it, he's like really confused because he's like, I hardly knew Hannah. Like, what did I do to contribute to her death? I barely knew her. And so that's one thing that like really keeps you going with the story and keeps you turning the pages, because you really want to get to the point where you find out, okay, what did Clay do? Because we're reading from his perspective, and you know, Clay seems like the nice guy, the like, you know, hasn't bullied or picked on anyone, like just not a bad guy. And so you're going through it, listening to all the other stories of the other people on the tapes, and you're wondering, okay, when did we get to his part, and what did he do that was so horrible? And so that's the one thing I liked, was that that part was interesting. But one thing I will say is there are two characters on the tapes that I don't really think they should have been on there, because, well, I don't really want to say why, because I don't want to spoil anything, but there are two characters that I don't think should have been on this tape. I'll just leave it at that. This book I thought was really good, really well written, and deals with the topic of suicide really well. One thing that I do want to say with this book, one thing is, as much as Hannah, was explaining, oh, this is what you did, this is what happened, this is how this is how it impacted my life and what brought me to this point. But there's also a part in here where there's actually two parts in here where she explains, where she talks about her guilt with her part in two of the situations where something happens, I won't say what, but something happens that she felt like she should have stopped, and she could have stopped, but she didn't do anything to stop it. And so she sort of talks about her guilt with that. And one thing I think is, and this is purely my my opinion, my speculation, based on, you know, my point of view from the book, but my thoughts were that guilt that she talked about, that guilt that she felt, I think that played a huge role in her committing suicide. Even though she says on the tapes, you know, this is what you did, this is how you contributed to my death, but at the same time, I think a lot of it has to do with the guilt that she felt for not stopping the situation when she could have. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, which I normally don't do for contemporary books, but I really, really enjoyed this book a lot. And I really think this is like a great discussion starter. Like, I really feel like you can use these books for discussions, especially with the topic like this with suicide. It can get pretty intense, but I think this book like opens up doors to start conversations, and yeah. So that's pretty much my thoughts on the book. If you've read the book, let me know what your thoughts are, and if you liked it, if you didn't, if you agree with what I said about the whole guilt thing, or maybe you don't. So let me know what you thought. And if you haven't read it, I do recommend reading it, because again, it is really good and I enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, that's it for this video. I will see you guys next time with another one. Bye.